I'm Kate Noble. I'm here at Shine Yoga in Cincinnati, and today's practice is a giant dose of TLC. So this is going to be a longer practice that I may end up splitting into chunks that I'll post separately, but I'll also put for you in the comment section the timestamps of some of the sections that we'll work through. So this is a riff on what I call the works, because we're doing more than just strong postures, but we will work towards some deep ones. So I want to acknowledge for you that this is a progressive class. The beginning is going to be extra gentle, super sweet and kind. The middle will be a little stretchy. There'll be a little bit of toning work. And then the third part is going to be some deeper hip openings, so that will require a good amount of flexibility. So stay and stick around for whatever you like, and if you happen to be an advanced yogi and you're looking for the harder stuff, I would invite you to stick around for this beginning, this gentle, sweet part as well. So I'm working this into an astrology series that I'm working on, and recently I had a friend request Cancer, the class for Cancer, the crab, and I said, well, what would a Cancer like? And so we love to mother everything. So this is a class to nurture you. So particularly if you've been struggling, challenged, feeling like you're working to support other people, it's an opportunity for you to take some time for yourself. I want to remind you that if anything hurts or doesn't feel good, you should just not do it. You can modify it, kind of make up your own version that feels good. That's really what advanced yoga is, that you're using posture to support your energetic balance and a sense of harmony within yourself and in all your relationships. So yoga is not a place to push through into pain. And then if you feel dizzy or lightheaded also, just take a pause, and if those feelings don't go away, make sure you check in with someone that can give you some medical advice if you're left not feeling well. All right, I have a real cozy setup today, and you may want to pause a video and run around and maybe not run, crawl, walk slowly, but grab a couple of things that might make you feel more comfortable. Having said that, you don't need anything extra. There's just some things that might make the practice feel a little more comfortable. So I have 2 blankets today. I'm sitting on one. I always like to sit on a little bit of height for the beginning centering of practice. I've got another one that I'll show you how to use later. I have a yoga strap, so a scarf or a skinny towel can work just fine, belt. I do have some tune-up balls, so these are these massage balls, and we're going to give ourselves a foot and hand massage in the beginning of this practice. So if you have balls and you like to use them, you could grab those. And then I have yoga blocks, but I also want to just acknowledge that like a small step stool can work great in the place of yoga blocks for the way that we're going to use it today. Okay, I think that's all the setup that we need to do, so we're going to get to it. And one more thing, if you're not comfortable sitting on the floor, you can do a lot of today's practice sitting in a chair. So I've got mine set up over there just to remind myself to tell you that you can sit in your chair if sitting on the ground doesn't feel super comfortable. All right, so let's take a few moments just to turn our focus and attention inward. So if you will sit up nice and straight and take a breath and allow yourself to contemplate, the animal, the crab. Think of a crab. And we know that there's soft shell crabs and hard shell crabs, and in both cases, the inner body of the crab is very soft and sweet. And because of that softness and sweetness, if we imagine the crab, if we had that level of softness and sweetness inside, we might create a hard shell to protect ourselves. And I can think back to being on the beach with my family chasing crabs. And so that shell, the crab may be looking for a sense of protection if it's feeling vulnerable. So allowing yourself to contemplate this sense of softness and hardness and what that energetic relationship might be like for you at this time. And both are good, right? Both have beneficial qualities of being soft, of gentleness, of vulnerability, of sweetness. And there is also benefit of the hardness, that it creates a sense of protection and structure and security. So we're not looking to judge any quality as good or bad, but to consider the spectrum, gentleness and hardness. And in this moment, see if you can allow yourself to begin to soften a bit. And in that softening, there is a potential to start to feel more, that we become more in touch with our feelings. And that is not always comfortable. A big part of yoga practice is creating a framework for us to feel more resilient in the face of the hardships of life, of the challenging experiences, of the uncomfortable feelings that we might have within ourselves and in relationship. And yoga is asking us to adopt a certain sense of capacity to move in and through this broad range of experience that happens on planet Earth. So in this moment, allowing yourself to really feel, and at the time of filming, we're moving through a very challenging time globally. And a lot of people are working really hard to hold things together. And so taking a quiet minute, it's possible that your emotions recognize this as an opportunity to let go a bit. And so if tears want to come, or a scream wants to come, and you're in a safe place to do that, I want to encourage you to let that happen. So that the sign of Cancer is very much about sensitivity and feelings and emotions. So allowing there to be a release if that feels appropriate for you. Think of the way that crab's shell creates a container for the softness, the sweetness, and also that deep well of feelings. And allow yourself to recognize the value of letting go a little bit, lightening your emotional or energetic load. Maybe it's a laughter that could make that happen as well. Maybe it's silence. All is fine, all is well. Okay, so we're gonna take a moment to clear now. So if there were heavy feelings, we're gonna create an opportunity to kind of mark this as a time where we have acknowledged and now we're moving forward. So if you would bring your hands together in front of your heart, spread your fingers out wide. This is Anjali Mudra, and it is a gesture of deep honoring, of also the practice of gratitude, to be grateful that we do have the opportunity to walk through this world, to make changes and adaptations. Bringing your hands together, spreading your fingers out, and I'll chant here before we start to go into movement. And if you'd like to chant with me, please feel free to do that at home. So we're gonna breathe out through the nose and back in. Taking a quiet moment, returning to your breath. Let your eyes gently open up. Good, welcome back. From here, we're gonna take Lotus Mudra. So for Lotus Mudra, you keep your pinky and thumb together. The heels of your hands stay together and the other fingers spread out wide. And then we're gonna turn this Lotus Mudra into little pinchers. So just pinch in and open up, pinch in and open up. So we're just activating the hands and fingers here in this moment. And you can just let it be organic and see how that works, keeping the thumb and pinky together and the other one spreading out. Mine gets a little forgetful a couple times. Now let all the fingers stretch out, thumb and finger, and then squeeze them all together, pinch it in, open it up, pinch it in, open it up, pinch it in. Good, give your wrists a good roll. and wiggle your fingers. All right, so we're gonna give our hands just a quick little massage. You're gonna take your right thumb, so I'm mirroring you, I'm opposite right now. Take your right thumb and put it in your left palm, and just rub the palm of your hand, the meaty parts, just kind of rub that all around. I'm getting a little kind of crackles in my wrist, so that's working out those air bubbles that get stuck in the joints. And then rub between, just nice and gentle between your knuckles. And then this kind of fattier part where your thumb meets your forefinger. And then grab your thumb with your whole hand and squeeze. And then think about rooting the base of the thumb towards your wrist and then just gently pull your finger out a little bit. And then just, again, to each finger, so there's a little kind of rooting the finger into the hand and then a gentle pull. So you don't want to dislocate your knuckles. We're just giving them a little stretch. And then same thing on the other hand, squeeze the thumb and gentle pull each finger. Good. Interlace your fingers and then just kind of roll your wrists around and then go the other way. A little awkward. Switch your hands, other thumb, forefinger on top. Do it again one way and then the other way. Now you're gonna flip your, that's your left hand. Flip your left hand forward, take your right hand, and then just pull back. So you're pressing the softer underside of your forearm forward. It's gonna stretch this part of your wrist. Think about pulling your arm bone towards you as you press the hand away, so you're opening up your wrist joint. Same thing on the other side. Find your breath, so you're working with your breath. Good, and then release and give your wrists a good roll. Okay. If you are gonna work in a chair, you're gonna just stay sitting in your chair. And if you're not using a chair, you're gonna come lay down. And if you wanna use a strap, have that nearby. So come lay down on your back. And I'm not sure if I mentioned at the beginning, we're gonna do a lot of leg hip work today, as well as hands and wrists. Okay, so come lay down and just give your right knee a gentle hug into your chest. Keep your left leg bent for this one. And then you're just gonna stretch your leg up and down at the knee. So we're just gently warming up the joints of the leg, taking this gentle inversion, warming up your muscles, and then hold your right leg up and circle your ankle, and then go the other way, and then point and flex, point and flex. So if your knee's not all the way straight, don't worry about that, no problem. Then you're gonna cross your right ankle over your left knee, and you're gonna take your right hand to the top of the right thigh and just press it gently that way. Take a good deep belly breath here. Then we're gonna do the same thing on the other side. Right foot's on the floor, the knee is bent, and you're just stretching your left leg up and down a couple times. As we get into this repetitive action, stay connected to that rhythm of your breath and allow yourself to remain in a feeling state. You're feeling sensitizing to your body so you can be responsive and nurture yourself. Take the leg up and circle your ankle a couple times in one direction, and then in the other direction, and then point and flex your foot. And then cross your left ankle over the right knee, left hand to the top of the thigh. So notice I'm not working on getting your knee to press away. You actually want to, when you're opening hips, that should happen at the root of the hip. It doesn't really matter what the knee is doing. It does matter what your knee is doing. It's just that we don't want to be concerned about where the knee is. You really think about the rotation at the thigh. Okay, if you're on the floor, come sit up. And we're gonna cross the right ankle over the left knee. Your left leg can go straight. Okay, I'm having a moment. Give me a second. If you're in a chair, sit up in your chair. Sit all the way on the edge, lean your upper body back, and then cross your left ankle over your knee, and then sit up straight if you can. And then if you're on the ground, we're gonna do that on the ground. So I'm gonna have you cross your left ankle over your right knee. And we're gonna work into the foot massage part of this practice. So we have our finger pinchers and then we've got our feet pinchers. So you're gonna take your thumb and you're just working right in the arch of the foot. So you're going on the medial side of the arch of your foot. And this is where if you have those tune-up yoga balls, you could stand up and massage your feet with that. I'm gonna work with my hands here today, but if you'd rather do the balls, you can do the balls. So you're going up through the medial arch, this part right in the inside of your ankle. Then go right down through the midline. So you're just massaging right that long line along the middle of your foot. And we're just working in the space between the ball of the foot and the heel of the foot. So you're not going all the way back to your ankle yet. Then pinch the outside edge of your foot. So I'm just pinching gently, nicely, squeezing. Then work in between your toe bones. So right in the ball of the foot, work in between the toe bones and in each section. Then we're gonna take your right hand, and if you can, thread your fingers in between your toes. And and some of them I can get them all the way through, and other places it's a little tougher between the pinky and that fourth toe is a little tough. With your fingers interwebbed between your toes, circle your ankle, and then go the other way. And then you're gonna take your hand over your toes and curl them this way towards you. That's with your right hand. Then take your left hand and turn your toes away from you and flex your foot. Take a nice deep breath. And then take your hand all around your foot and circle it one more time, or a couple more times each direction, a few times each direction. And then you're gonna pinch your Achilles tendon area. So on the top and the bottom, just pinch and squeeze. Good, and then one more time, curl your toes towards you. So your toes are pointed. Good, let's do the other side. Right foot crossing over the left. And then you're just gonna work on this inside arch of your foot, closest to your inner ankle. And if you feel any little knots in there, you can, work on them. Harder's not always better. Our bodies actually have a reflex that if we push on them in a certain way, our body pushes back. So try to be responsive, try to be sensitive and responsive here. Then work right through the midline of your foot, of that arch. And then working the outer arch, just pinching the outer edge of your foot. And again, you're just working between the ball and the front of the heel, so this midsection. Then work in between the bones of the toes and feet. Getting in between all of them. Your massage technique, as long as it feels good, it's perfect. And then just a gentle pull. You could do a little wiggle for each toe. Hopefully I did that on the other side. I might have forgot. Then you're gonna thread your fingers through, if you can, to stretch your toes. And then circle your foot. A couple times one way, a couple times the other way. Then take your hand on top of your toes. Try to get them to do this toe curl. So your toes are pointed, and then you also point your ankle. So try to get both to happen. Take a deep breath there. And then your other hand goes over and you flex first your toes and then at your ankle. And then give your whole foot a roll again. Other way. Pinch the Achilles. So you can kind of think about rubbing on both sides, your inner and your outer ankle. This is called myofascial release. I'm just working to soften the tissues, the muscles, but also the fascia that is that fine webbing that holds everything together and helps everything work in a coordinated way. And then one last toe point, curl your toes back. Good, give your wrist one more roll. So that's the most gentle part of our practice. And we're gonna come to hands and knees now. So if you would like to pad your knees, I will encourage that. There's a soft tendon right underneath your kneecap. And when we do kneeling, the kneecap pulls back and that soft tissue is exposed. Okay, so we're gonna come to hands and knees and we're still gonna work on our feet here. So first, tuck your toes under, and you might be like me where the pinky toe kind of gets a little stuck. So if your pinky toe is stuck, use your hands and try to get all the toes to flex under. And then begin to press your hips back towards your heels just as much as it feels good. If this bothers your knees, your ankles, your feet, your toes, you can keep your hands on the ground. And if it feels okay for you, you can come more upright. So you're sitting back onto your heels. And then there'll be a few people out there who'll feel pretty comfortable. And if you feel comfortable, you're gonna come onto pinch your finger hands, take them behind you, and arc open through your heart. Take a good deep chest breath wherever you are. And then walk your hands forward and now point your toes. Your toes pointed, press your hips back on your heels again, come upright. And bring your hands together in front of your heart. Close your eyes for a moment here. This is called Vajrasana. And Vajrasana, the word Vajra has several meanings. In one case, it is a diamond, and in another case, it's a weapon. So just allow yourself to have an idea of the strength that both a diamond and a weapon represent. And then allow yourself to consider the strength of that crab shell, and also bring into mind the sweetness and softness that we know exists within the crab, as well as the luminosity of a diamond. And in traditional yoga practices, there is this concept of Vajradeha, which is your diamond body. And your diamond body is your spirit, is the energy of your spirit. So in particular, if you've been feeling fatigued, stressed, fearful, worried, confused, see if you can imagine penetrating the hard outer shell of ego. Allow yourself to make a sense of connection to the energy of your heart, this, deeper resilient aspect of us, that as much as our heart may be broken, that we still are looking for a sense of connection and love. And if we feel like we're missing that in our lives, take this opportunity to give yourself that tender, loving care that every person needs, every person craves in some form. So being the mothering energy that you might need for yourself right now. Good. With your exhale, bring your hands to the ground, come forward to hands and knees. I realize that might have been a little bit long, so hopefully if it felt long, you came out. And if you hung in there, keep that in mind next time, that maybe sometimes that we need to let ourselves come out of postures that don't feel great, right? So stretch your right foot back, your toes tucked under, and press back through your heel. Squeeze your knee real tight. So particularly that's your quad muscles at the top of the thigh. Make your knee nice and straight. Take a good deep breath there. Walk your right foot behind your left and just press your hips gently to the left. And then if you'd like to, you can walk your hands to the left and maybe even bow down towards the floor. Take a good deep heart breath there. Come back up to all fours. Same thing on the other side. You're kneeling on your right knee. Take the left leg back. Press back through your heel. Make your leg strong. Feel your toes tucked under, the small details that we're working on today, to be sensitive, not just to the big parts, but all the parts. And then cross your left foot behind the right, press your hips to the left, lean your upper body to the right. As I wrote out that word small today, I recognize that all, right? Especially in a lot of kind of more advanced practices, I feel like people miss the small details. So letting ourselves be in that fine detailed space today. If you want to reach that left arm out and forward so that you're kind of more in a crescent, you can come down and Let your chest relax towards the floor. Good full deep breath there. Good, and then come back to the middle. You can take either puppy pose or downward facing dog here. So puppy, you're on your knees, your arms reach forward. For some of you, your head might come comfortably to the ground. And then if you like down dog, come take downward facing dog. We're gonna hold this one for an extended amount of time. So maybe about 45 seconds, a minute. And in this downward dog, feel free to work down through the small details of toes. Feel your feet, your ankles, your knees, your hips. Feel the small articulations that happen through your waist and hips as you bend, straighten your legs. Feel into your shoulders, arms, head, fingers. And if you're in downward dog, think about kind of clawing the floor. Activate your fingers. And then nice and easy, walk your feet to your hands and come all the way up standing tall. Stretch your arms up overhead, take a good deep breath there. And exhale, bring your hands back together in front of your heart. Once again, close your eyes and allow yourself to be in this inwardly sensitive space. And think about this idea of holding space for all of your feelings. You know, very often we have inner feelings that we kind of want to turn away from. And unfortunately, if we don't process our feelings, a lot of times they're living in our subconscious. So allowing ourselves to have this time to really honor how we actually are, and knowing that in doing that, very often we can release some of the heavier, scarier feelings. So we face our fears. You can think about that Vajra, that diamond body, the weapon that clears away all evil. With your exhale, release your hands, open your eyes, stretch your arms up, turn your palms out and press really powerful out and away. Give your shoulders a good roll backward. There's a lot of things we do every day that roll our shoulders up and forward, so roll them up and then back. Okay, so we're working into our legs, and you're gonna wanna have a couple things set up here potentially. So again, if you don't have props nearby, it's not a worry. I'm gonna use a yoga blanket. You could use a towel. You could use a couch cushion. So I'm just gonna make a little soft, cushy ledge is what I'm doing here. And I'm in no rush to make my hamstrings go taut, super straight. So we're gonna work with a bent knee forward fold. And so I have a footstool. Your yoga blocks will work for that. You could use the edge of a chair. Your couch will be great. All right, so once you're set up, you've got this roll, and we're gonna put the ball of the foot on the blanket roll. So you're gonna put the ball of your foot on the blanket roll. This is actually a little high for me in the moment, so I'm gonna unwind that a little bit. What you want is that you can push the ball of your foot into the roll, but that you can feel like you can lift the arch up a little bit. So you're gonna lift and spread out your toes, and then you're pressing into the ball and the heel, and the arch suctions up. Then we're gonna bend both knees and move our hips back so you're hinging at your hips. You're coming into a fold at the hips, not a rounding of the spine. Bring your hands to your blocks or stool. You could also just put your hands on your shins and take a breath. Now, think about pushing stronger into the ball of the foot and lifting up through the arch, and maybe you'll feel your calf muscles and your outer shin muscles engage. Try to keep them strong, and then we're gonna think about making space in the knee joint by pushing your shin bones down, but lifting your thigh bones up. So there's pressure. Think of the kind of the pinchers of the crab all the way out to the end. Even in the small places, they're strong. Take a good deep breath. Lift up through your chest, your ribs. And then only as much as it feels good for you, let yourself refold. And try moving from your hips, not your lower back. If you're on the more flexible side, you might bring your hands to the ground. And you might let your head relax down. Keep your feet strong. The arch is lifting, the back of the calf strong, your hamstrings gently lengthening. Good. Press down through your feet, legs. Inhale, stretch up tall, arms reach up overhead, and then exhale, relax your arms down.
Good, let's move those props out of the way. I don't think we're gonna need props now for a little bit of time. Move them all out of the way. Well, except for the blanket for kneeling for some of you. All right, we're gonna come, if you're using a yoga mat, come to the front of your mat or the front of your practice space. Take a deep breath in, stretch your arms up overhead, turn your palms out and stretch all the way through the tips of your fingers. Remember the small parts, send love to all the parts. Fold down and in, your knees can bend in that forward fold, and then step your right foot back so that you're in lunge pose. And in lunge pose, you can be up on your hands, you can have your hands on blocks. You can bring both hands to the inside of the front leg to make that pose a little more comfortable for some people. And then if it works for you, bring your right knee down to the ground. And again, add the padding back if you want it. We're gonna hold this for a little bit of time. So connect to your breath. And as we start to work deeper into the hips, I want you to have a sense of what that really means in a yoga practice. So we actually kind of have two hip joints. You have your ball and socket joint, which is your true hip joint. And then you also have the SI joint on the back between your hip bone and your sacrum. We're gonna change sides here. I'm gonna talk a little more about those hip joints in a moment. So step your right foot back or up and step your left foot back. And we're holding regular lunge for a moment. Front knee is bent, squeeze the back leg really strong and straight. You're deciding where you like your arms. And then if it's comfortable for you, bring your back knee to the floor. It's also fine to keep the knee up if it doesn't feel good to push it down. So back to the hips, opening the hips in yoga. That's always a request. And it can be a little confusing of a request actually, because we're gonna feel different parts of our hips. So we're gonna address the whole hip area today. You're gonna have the muscles, the big glute muscles, and your piriformis that go from the side to the back. But then you also have the psoas, which is in the front, and then we have the abductors on the side and adductors in the middle. So kind of four sides of the hips. Good, from here, go back to puppy or downward dog, whichever one you prefer. And take a good deep breath there. We're gonna come lay down on our belly. So you could come to plank, you could stay up on your feet or put your knees down if you like, and then slow lower. And then we're coming into Sphinx pose. So you're just gonna slide your elbows right underneath your shoulders and lift up through your chest. So this front part is part of our hip as well, right? So it's the groin, but you also have your psoas muscle that connects up in your very upper inner thigh, and it goes diagonally through your body and it hooks on to the lumbar spine. So it truly does connect your leg to your back. So a lot of our back problems can come from the front of the hip being tight or bound up. So this is a very gentle way to soften the front of the thigh. From here, just bend your right knee and circle your ankle a couple times each direction and then your toes. And then switch sides, just bending the knee, circling ankle, wiggling toes. A couple of good deep breaths. If you like cobra or upward dog, you can take one here. Place your hands. Think about lifting up through your spine as your back muscles curl your shoulders back, lift your heart, and then push your hips up, press back to child's pose, your hips back on your heels. You can cross your arms and let your head rest on your arms, or you can let your forehead come to the floor if you like. Take a couple of breaths there. Okay, we're gonna come back and explore some of the different parts of the hip in low lunge. So if you like padding for your knees, set that up. We're gonna keep the right knee back and take the left foot forward. And then bring your hands to the ground or onto a block or a stool. And just take a moment to be aware of what's happening in your front hip and your back hip. And in particular, kind of what you feel, and then also what you notice your limbs doing. So if I didn't work on this pose, my knee would naturally go out. I've got a lot of external rotation. So you can just kind of let your body do what it wants as long as it doesn't hurt. And notice what you feel, where you feel compression, where you feel stretch.
And then if your leg does rotate out like mine does, squeeze it in. So work your inner thigh in, and that'll actually help release the outer hip. You won't feel a giant stretch, but it will release the tension. Our muscles are oppositional, so when one side squeezes, the other side has to let go a little bit to allow your body to move in space. Now we're going to push down through the legs, bring your hands to your front knee and come upright. And if it feels good for you, stretch your arms overhead, and now notice what you feel. If you felt your lower back, do a big arch, hug your belly gently in, and try to just lengthen that curve. And most people now will feel a stretch in the groin. A little bit of the quadricep, in particular that psoas that goes right through the front of the thigh. Take a good deep breath here. Now we're going to come into a twist. So your right hand to the floor, your left arm circles up and around. And try to keep your hips even so that you twist through your waist. And if you want to go into that twist a little deeper, you can take your bottom hand and cross it over the opposite knee. Your palms press, hug your belly back, and twist through the waist. And notice what you feel. And allow yourself to work on the small details that help you feel like you're cultivating a sense of nurturing. So remembering that theme of the class, that this class isn't about pushing ourselves. This class is about taking really sweet care of ourselves. Good. Release, and we're gonna take that whole series on the other side. So I've again positioned myself so I'm mirroring you. Your right foot is forward. Your left knee's back and down. And you're just letting yourself come into your favorite version of this kind of forward-leaning posture first. And you want to let your body go as much as it feels comfortable so you're not holding a lot of tension. So I'm letting my hips soften forward and down, not pushing them. Gravity's doing the work. I don't have to push when there's gravity. And then if your knee has rotated out, you can allow that for another moment or two. If you notice that by habit you were holding it in, you might let it go and just notice what you feel when you let go. And then activate your inner thigh. Those are called your adductors, your inner hip muscle. It's deep inside there. And in activating the inner thigh, it will help release tension on the outer side. So I really think it's important that we know the difference between release and stretch. And the truth is, most of us through yoga practice are looking for a release of tension. Sometimes stretching can help that. Sometimes activation can help it. But there also has to be the time where there is a sense of allowing, that we come to a place of acceptance for what is, and let there be a level of softness, letting go of the need for excessive control. All right, now press down through your legs. We're coming upright. Hands can come to the front knee to make that a little easier transition. And then if it feels good, stretch your arms up overhead. And if you notice that your lower back is significantly arched, then you root down through the tailbone in the back and you lift in and up through your belly in the front. If it feels good for you, look up, take a nice heart breath. We're gonna come into the first version of the twist. Your left hand comes to the floor, your right arm circles up and around. Again, try to keep your hips pretty square. Twist through your waist. Spread your fingers out. Remember those small details. Send love to every part. And then if you want to go in for that deeper twist, you're going to cross the bottom arm over the opposite knee, palms press, twist through your waist. Find your breath and check in. Are you in this space of nurturing yourself? And we know that there's tough love as a part of nurturing as well, right? So maybe there's a little bit of challenge element. We just want to make sure that we're not overworking or overdoing. Take a good sweet breath. And then unwind and take your choice of downward facing positions. So puppy, child, or downward facing dog. Let your eyes close and be in that space of feeling. Connect to your breath. Good, and then if you're not already on your knees, come down to your knees, please. And we're gonna do a little bit of muscle activation. So I know that when we have tension, people tend to go to stretch to release it, and that's only part of the equation. You know, that our bodies really need a balance of stability and mobility, and if some of the small, fine-tuned muscles have not been being utilized, then the bigger muscles can overcompensate, right? So these next two exercises are about working small muscles, and if it's a small muscle, you know, they're like levers. So, is that right? Levers, pulleys. But if it's a small muscle, there's really gonna be a very small movement. So this is an exercise to hold back on a little bit. All right, so we're gonna do clam, very popular in therapy for hips and knees. And let's come lay down on our left side. You can prop your head up or let your head rest down. And your knees are gonna be bent so that your heels, hips, shoulders, and head line up and your knees are bent forward. Your knees are stacked. You're gonna bring your top hand to your top hip and then hug your belly in. Try to keep your lower abdominal muscles gently toned the whole time, but make sure you can breathe full and well at the same time that you have that tone. Then you're gonna just very small lift the top knee. So your feet stay together and I'm keeping the belly muscles toned and I'm lifting and lowering my top knee. If you look at the height that I have right now, I'm gonna show you how high I could go. So I could go really high, but then there'd be this opening in the back, or kind of this closing in the back. So you wanna keep the hip bone, this is your ilium, the hip bone, and this is your thigh bone. Remember, there are two different bones. So you're trying to keep your hip bone, ilium still, it's your pelvic bone, and the thigh bone is the one going up and down. Good, now we're gonna switch. So we just worked these outer hip muscles. We're gonna work the inner thigh muscles. So take your right knee forward, stretch your bottom leg straight. People often tend to bring the bottom foot too far forward. So try to keep it straight in line with your body. Flex your foot and think about turning your pinky toe to the floor. So your foot pulls towards you and then it turns down towards the floor. And then with a straight leg, pulse the bottom leg up and down. Again, low core muscles engaged. So it's a very isolated movement. Small muscles, do small actions. Stay with your breath. Good, and release. Bring both knees forward with your knees stacked. Bring your hands behind your head. Twist open through your upper body. Find your breath. Think about feeling into any places that feel hard or tight, and envision your capacity for softening. Let your full breath help you to experience that. Okay, we're gonna do the other side, then we'll come back for some stretches to release the parts that we just worked. So again, the clam, left knee is the one on top. Your feet stay together, hand on your hip. Hug your belly muscles in, and then lift and lower the top leg. And again, this hip bone should not move. This is one to remember that more is not always better. We're just kind of working this, again, small details with a sense of tenderness and kindness. Good, bring your top knee forward, stretch your bottom leg so it's straight in line with your body, not forward in front of your hips, and then turn your pinky toe down so the foot doesn't turn upward like that. And then lift and lower. Keep the belly muscles toned as well. Make sure you're breathing. So we're activating the inner thigh muscles, which can help relax the outer hips. All right, that should be about even. Stack your knees, heels, hips, head, then twist your heart gently open. Good, full deep breath there. Okay, so then we're gonna do 2 side lying leg stretches. We still have the left knee on top. You're gonna bring your left knee forward and grab onto your shin. If that's a hard reach, you can put a strap around your foot. And then again, keep your belly strong and point your knee away from you. So in my body, my knee stays a little bit in front of my hip when I've kept my core strong. But if I let my core relax, I can get the top leg way back.
So we want to stay strong in the core. So you're thinking about keeping your belly muscles drawing in and up as you press your knee down and away. Now I am getting lengthening, but I don't feel a giant stretch. So again, it's the idea that stretch does not always equal release. Sometimes we need there to be that balance of strength and softness, of hardness and softness. Bring your knee into your chest. This is the left leg. Bring your knee to your chest. Stretch your top leg up. Point flex your ankle. Circle your ankle a couple times each direction. And if you're on the more flexible side, you can go like this. You can reach up and maybe grab a hold of hand to foot. And then for a little extra challenge to strengthen your whole core, stretch your arm overhead, lay your head in on your arm, and then maybe slow stretch the bottom leg straight, holding this position. This is called a Anantasana. This is, Vishnu is one of the gods, the god of maintenance of the universe, and his companion is this sea snake, Ananta. Good. Bring your knees back together in front of you, and one more time, this little sprout twist. Take a good deep chest breath. Okay, your right hip is still your bottom hip. You're gonna come up onto the right hip and take your right hand at about a 45-degree angle away from your shoulder. Cross your left foot over the top and stretch your right leg straight. And again, you're looking for the straight body line. Try not to let that bottom leg inch forward. And then lift up through your right underside rib cage and press the soft space between your hip and your rib forward. And then you can kind of bend a little bit into that arm, and you're really trying to bring the side body into as much of a crescent shape as you can. It's okay if your shoulder hikes up a little bit here, as long as that feels okay in your body. Take a good deep breath there. Good, and then we're gonna release and take that whole series on the other side. So you're gonna come laying down on your left hip. Again, your head can be propped up, or you can lay it down. We're bringing the right knee forward, hold on to your ankle or use the strap. Keep your core strong, so the core is stable, and then we mobilize the joint right at the side of the hip. So you keep your belly and back neutral. Good, deep breath there. And then bring your right knee into your chest and stretch the right leg up. Circle ankle, point flex, wiggle toes. And then you have that options to reach up for the hand of the foot potentially, and then maybe to stretch your arm overhead and your leg long. So again, you're staying strong in your center, but allowing your joints to soften and stretch. Give yourself this capacity to reach. You can think about the symbolism of the snake, that it has to shed its skin so that it can evolve and grow. Allowing ourselves to have that capacity to move through cycles and rhythms. Good, release the leg down. Little twist. Am I doing that? I might have done that early, but this is one of my favorite poses. I don't feel like you can have too many of these. So we'll pause, take a good deep breath there. And then let's come up for that underside hip stretch. So again, now you're on your left hip. The left arm goes forward about 45 degrees. Cross your right leg over, and left leg is straight in line with your body. And then you're just kind of you're creating traction. So you're pushing down into the bottom hip, and think about pushing your hips away from your ribs. And as the hip is pressing down and away, you're thinking about lifting your ribs up and just letting all these crisscross muscles of your obliques, all this connective tissue. Take a good deep breath there. So you're working on trying to create that crescent shape. Okay, I think this is where we did that little twist one more time. So let's do that one more time. Knees forward, hands behind your head, twist. Good deep heart breath. Good, come lay down on your back. Take a couple rounds of windshield wipers, your legs rocking side to side, so you feel that rotational quality of your hips. So Cancer is associated with the element of water, and the element of water in the energetic maps in the body lives in the hips. So we want to cultivate this sense of movement, of flow, of release through our hips and through our emotional body. Let's take resting butterfly for a moment, so the soles of your feet together, your knees drop out and open. If that's not comfortable, you can take a little bit of something to prop them up, a pillow, yoga block, rolled up towel. Let your hands come to your low belly, eyes to close. And allow yourself just a few moments to rest here. A couple of good full deep breaths. Allow yourself perhaps to have that contemplation between hard and soft and where you are in that space energetically. Can you allow there to be a sense of greater softening? You know, at the same time, perhaps you're in a space where you've been very vulnerable. Maybe there is a need to pull up a sense of being more protective of yourself, of certain boundaries, of your time, of your thoughts, of your feelings. So just contemplating that balance between strength and vulnerability, hardness and softness. And then stretch out your body, arms overhead, legs down long. Move your wrists and ankles and fingers and toes. And then come on up, and we're gonna work on our neck and shoulder and side bodies a little bit more. Side hips, side waist. Okay, so again, sitting on a little bit of height. The benefit of that is that for most people, it will allow your lower back to either go up straight or to have its kind of neutral concave curve. What happens for a lot of us Westerners is that we are tight in the groins because we do a lot of sitting, whether we're on the couch, in our chairs, at work, at the table, in our cars. So when that psoas muscle is tight, it can kind of pull your pelvis into this little bit of rounded space. So if when you sit down, you're a little hunched, you can, or if it just doesn't feel good to sit up straight, just grab a little bit of height. Okay, so we're sitting in a way that feels like you've got a sense of lift through your spine, and cross your right leg in front of the left. I have mine actually in front. This is a version of Siddhasana, and then Sukhasana is where your ankles are actually crossed. So just let that be comfortable. Right leg in front of left. And then we're gonna lean to the right. I'm gonna switch, so I'm matching you again. So you have your right leg in front of your left, and we're gonna lean to your right. Take a good deep breath. And again, thinking about opening up that soft space between hip and rib. If it feels okay, let your head kind of hang down over your shoulder, so you also get a sense of stretching through the side of your neck. And then keep your body leaning to your right, but stretch your left arm away from you. So that will increase that side neck stretch. And then sit up and keep your head still tilting to your right shoulder. And then lift your head up and just move it however feels good for you. And then sit up straight, and you're gonna look over your right shoulder. Put your left hand behind you, cross your right hand behind you, your left arm in front of you, and twist a little more. I apologize for right, left. It's so much easier to mirror when I have real people in front of me, so thanks for understanding. Good, release and switch. So now your left foot is in front of right, and you're leaning to your left. And think about that crescent shape, side waist. Your right arm stretching up and over. Let your head hang down over the left shoulder. And then reach the arm away from you. So you feel that side neck stretch. Again, make sure it's nurturing, not hard, not hurting. And then come up, let the head still stay leaning over the left shoulder. And then lift it up and just move it however feels good for you.
And then put your left hand behind you. Come up onto your fingertips and twist. Look over your left shoulder. Your right hand can come to the outer left knee. And again, think about keeping the spine in its full extension up and twisting through your waist. Let your head turn. Good, release. Okay, we're gonna take sitting butterfly. So you'll bring the soles of your feet together and then bring your hands behind you up on your pincher fingers if you can. If that's not comfortable, it's fine for them to come flat. Push into your hands, bend your elbows a little bit, and think about getting your whole spine to concave arc up and back. Curl your shoulders back very powerfully. Think about shining the light of your heart. You can imagine again that Vajradeha, that diamond body. Let your inner light shine through all the layers of muck and darkness that you might have been feeling or seeing around you. And then now you can stay here, particularly if you're tighter in your hips. You might prefer this. If you can keep your spine straight and it's comfortable for you to hinge from your hips and forward fold, you can. And then as much as it feels good, let yourself come into a nice even curl forward. So I'm going to try not to over curl in any one part. Couple of more good full deep breaths there. Good, and then come upright. Go ahead, and if you have height, take that away. And we're gonna do, this is called Purvottanasana, is its Sanskrit name. It means east facing pose, and it is because traditionally you would do this pose facing the rising sun in the east. So it is this idea of opening to the light, the promise of the light in the world. So allowing ourselves, if we're in that place of mucky, heavy emotion, to challenge ourselves to move through it, so that, you know, we acknowledge it as a part of life, but not the whole of life. Okay, so the easier version of this, which we're gonna do first, and then we'll do the more challenging one in a moment, is now your hands are behind you with your fingers pointing towards your hips. And you're gonna push into your hands, your elbows are bent, and then think about you're pushing your hips down, but lift your shoulders up. So again, it's increasing the side waist space. Squeeze your shoulder blades strong together in your back, push down through your hands, lift your hips. Now, this pose is not so much about getting the hips high, but really think about moving energy from your heart, through your core, through your knees. Encourage a lot of lengthening, opening the heart center, curling your shoulders back, lifting your ribs, full deep breath here. You might start to feel a little shakiness happening. Just remember again, that challenge does make us stronger. It's just important that we honor that with rest and healing as well. Good, lower down. We're gonna come take bridge pose, lay on your back. Bend your elbows next to your side ribs. Press into your upper arms, into your feet and your head, and lift your hips up. It's the same thing here. Not so much about getting your hips to lift up, think about lifting and shining the light of your heart, and send the heart energy through your core and down and out through your knees. And if it would feel good for you, you can take your hands behind your back and interlace your fingers, tuck one shoulder under and then the other, squeeze your shoulder blades together, stretch through your knees. Good full deep breath there, and exhale, lower down. Give your knees a good hug into your chest. If it feels okay in your body, lift your head and shoulders and come into a tight curl. So again, creating core strength here. Toning the abdominal muscles can help release those lower back muscles. And then let your head and feet rest on the floor. Just take a moment to breathe. To again, come into that place of sweet surrender, of trust, of vulnerability. And then we're gonna work the opposite. We're gonna work on our core strength again. So now we're gonna come up into a little curl. If your head needs support, you could put one hand back there or both of them. You wanna think about keeping a little space between your chin and your chest. So your chin should not be tucked in tight, kind of looking over your knees. Take your right leg to the ceiling. Slow lower your right leg, keeping your knee hugging and your low abdominal muscles toned. Let the leg kind of stretch out and hover a few inches from the floor. Bring the right leg back up, switch. Right knee bends, left leg is straight.
and then keeping the core strong, slow, lower. If you need to make this easier, you can put your head down. You can also put your hands under your hips. That'll make it a whole lot easier. All right, so now we're gonna do 2 more. So either you're gonna repeat each leg once, or you can take both legs up, point through your ankles, and then flex your toes. So you have, we call this the floint. Your arms near the sides of your body. Try to keep your pelvis neutral. Slow, lower your legs so that they both hover a few inches from the floor. And then squeeze your knees, squeeze your belly, lift your legs back up. 1 more time. Good. And then bend your knees, bring your feet to the floor. Let your head rest back, a couple rounds of windshield wipers. All right, so we're gonna come now, I'm gonna give you 2 options. So if you feel tired and you wanna rest, you can take constructive rest, where your feet are wide, your knees knock knee together. And if you wanna work a little bit more, we're gonna come up into this little curl and extend both legs out again. And then maybe see if you can curl all the way up. High boat, low boat, high boat, low boat. 1 more, all the way up, and then cross your legs. Bring your hands behind you, and we're gonna do Purvottanasana. Sometimes this gets called a reverse table pose in common English. So you can repeat knees bent table or both legs straight. So again, your hands are behind you, fingers pointing towards your hips. Bend your elbows a little bit at first. Use your breath, lift the light of your heart, let it shine. Curl your shoulders back, squeeze your shoulder blades strong, and then press into your hands, lift your hips. At the top, you can squeeze your elbows straight. Just make sure you don't hyperextend them. Take a good deep heart breath here. Good, release, lower down. All right, if you were laying, please come on up to sit and just come take cross-legged for a moment and let your eyes close. I'm gonna reframe that. If you'd prefer to stay laying down, go ahead and go for that. So I mentioned I'm teaching this class in several sections, and we have now moved through the very gentle beginning, the moderate kind of toning middle, and now we're gonna come into the deep hip stretches. And because they're sitting poses, they require a good amount of core strength and flexibility. And even though they're sitting poses, I'll consider them some of the more physically challenging advanced poses. I kind of hate to say advanced yoga poses because for me, advanced yoga is very sensitive, mindful yoga. It's recognizing what's gonna bring you balance and harmony. So your advanced yoga might mean that you know you're finished with this practice and you could just hang out and take a little more rest if you like. And if you're in that kind of middle space and you're curious, please stick with us. All right, so we're gonna take some time for sitting postures now. And as I was saying, in sitting postures, we really wanna try to keep the extension up through the spine so that when you're folding forward, it's happening at your hip and not at your lower back. So low back injuries are very prevalent in America, and a lot of it really is that there is a lack of flexibility and stability in the lumbar spine. So we wanna make sure that when we're folding, we don't have this thing happening, because that'll just put pressure on your discs and nerves. So even though we're moving towards gravity, we still want to be strong and kind of in balance with it, that we're resisting the temptation to just collapse. All right, so again, a little bit of height is nice for these postures, and we're going to start off with Ardha Paschimottanasana. Now, I want to acknowledge that different yoga styles have some of the same poses that have different names. So you might have heard this as Janu Shirshasana. And for me, I'll show this from the back. For me, Janu Shirshasana is where the legs are at a wider angle, and Ardha Paschimottanasana is where your hips are even. So Paschimottanasana, this is Dandasana, staff pose, where you're sitting, arms reach up, and then Paschimottanasana is forward fold. Ardha means half. So for me, Ardha Paschimottanasana is gonna mean we're gonna have
the left leg forward, and then we're gonna bend the right leg back, but you're still gonna try to keep your hips squared off. Okay, so we have left leg forward, right leg bent out, and I want you to feel into your physical body, and then feel into your base. And if your hips feel uneven, like mine kind of feel like that right now, you're gonna use your hands and try to get the bottom of your pelvis to be more level. First step for me in forward folds is that we root down through the pelvis, so hips, legs down, fingers pressing down helps you to then lift up through your spine. Stretch your arms up straight, and then to the best of your ability from your hips hinge and forward fold. And if your flexibility allows for it, you might reach out for your hands to your foot. I'm sorry I didn't say this sooner, but this might be the place where you have that strap ready. So again, instead of collapsing down into the forward fold, I'm gonna think about that sense of inner strength and inner light. You use that to lift up and then to hinge and forward fold. I want to, as we continue forward, this is where I am right now is really great flexibility. So if you can do a pose like this, you're in a really good spot. There's some places in my body where I'm a little hyper mobile, not in a bad way, but it just feels good for me to go in a little deeper. So I'm gonna indulge, I'm gonna give myself the permission to go as far as I need to, and encourage you to not feel like you have to push to match where I am. Because for sure, there's places where you might be able to go further than I could. This is our last deep breath. And then come on up. And we're gonna take a Mariachi Asana twist. There's like 5 different versions of Mariachi Asana. And so we're just gonna make this one up as our Mariachi Asana twist. So now our right foot is down, our right knee is up. Take your right hand behind you, if you can, up on your strong, pinchy fingers, and stretch your left arm up. Again, you want length. You want the hips pressing down, the ribs lifting up. This soft space feels open, not compressed. And then you can wrap your left hand and twist, look over your right shoulder, or some of you might cross your elbow outside your knee. Hug your belly muscles and any flesh that you feel kind of pushing out, that you can pull that back just a little bit. Curl your right shoulder back, look over your right shoulder, squeeze your right shoulder blade. Make sure that your left foot is staying stable, pointing straight up. Good, release, and we're gonna take both of those postures on the other side. So my right leg is straight out from the hip, and then my left knee bends. I'm gonna adjust my sitting bones, fingertips behind. We're reminding ourselves to keep our pelvis neutral, not tipping back in the folds. Arms reach up. This is a great way to build core strength, side body, back body strength, shoulder strength. And then from your hips hinge, you can use your strap. You can put your hands down like kickstands, or if it works in your body, your hands can come out to your front foot. Take your time. Remember that, we're stretching living tissue that is tied into our nervous system. And the truth is that our tissues really prefer that we're kind to them. They'll definitely respond, they'll build strength, but they do want tenderness to a good degree. So allowing yourself to have that. I also, I can reach my hand, my foot, so I notice I've got a little tight spot in the foot. You can give yourself a little extra foot massage while you're here. If you're using the strap, you can do kind of the same thing with the strap. You can just kind of give yourself a little friction, or you can pull the ball of the foot back a little deeper. Take a couple more deep breaths. Coming up for our ambiguous Marichiyasana twist. Left foot down, left knee to the sky, left hand behind you, right arm up. Lift up through the ribs as you push down through your hips, twist through your waist, hug your belly tissue back, and look over your left shoulder. Find your breath. If you feel like you've lost that at all, make sure the right leg stays pushing straight forward.
and release. Okay, for this one, take your blanket away. And then we're gonna lean back onto our hands. I'm gonna have my fingers pointing away from me for this one. Stretch both of your legs straight. Cross your right ankle over your left knee. Now, when we start to work deeper into the hips, remember that we want the rotation to come at the hip and not at the knee or the ankle. So both of these joints are meant to be pretty stable joints. Actually, your ankle is quite mobile, it can do this full circle, but we want to stabilize it in this case so that we don't strain the outer knee. Stabilizing your ankle will help keep the ligaments of your outer knee safer. So you have right ankle over left knee. You want to keep your foot flat here and bend your left knee as far as that feels good for you. Now right away, it's likely that you'll start to do the hunch thing. So imagine your diamond body, that Vajra, Deha, and let your inner light shine. Curl your shoulders back. Imagine your inner light being that source of support that allows any outer hardness to soften. And always use your wisdom to decide when that's helpful. It's not always helpful to be soft. You have the opportunity to stay here, or if you feel like you could go in a little deeper, stretch your left leg straight, and then you're gonna baby cradle your right leg. So again, I'm keeping the ankle straight. I don't want to just do this thing called sickling. So I'm keeping the pinky toe pressing away. I can just hold the ankle, that's a good version. If I'm on the more flexible side, I might wrap my arms around the shin. And then you can see I'm kind of curled, so now I'm going to try to work on shining that light up and out. You're keeping your shin fairly level as you bring chest and shin towards each other. Good full deep breath here. Okay, now, whether you stayed here or came into the cradle position, take your left hand to the outside of your right foot. Put your right hand behind you, and then stretch your right leg out forward in front of you. The knee can stay bent, or both legs can go straight. And then lift up tall through your chest and twist over your right shoulder. Squeeze the right shoulder blade back, turn your head, find your breath. Good, and release. All right, so we're starting way back at the beginning. The right leg is straight, the left ankle crosses over. You're reminding yourself to keep that inner ankle flat the whole time. Bend your right knee. If you round it in, lift up through your heart. Find your breath. Imagine your inner warmth softening any of the outer hardness. You have the option to stay here or to cradle your shin. And again, you're thinking about rotating from the hip. So you keep that ankle flat, and you're bringing chest and shin towards each other. You might have gone a little quicker on this side, so just slowing it down again, making sure we're in that space of remaining sensitive, that idea that it's about the journey, not the destination. Full breath. And then you can, from here, extend your left leg straight with hand to foot, or with it crossed over. Right hand goes to outer foot. Stretch your left foot in front of you. I might have said that wrong. Your right hand to left foot, your left hand behind you. Extend your legs, lift up through your heart, and as much as it feels good, twist to your left. Let your head turn to, find your breath. Good, and release. Okay, so this next one might not be perfect for everybody, so if we work into it, doesn't feel good, you could just come and do resting pigeon like this. So we just did sitting pigeon, just lay down, resting pigeon. So we're going for a tighter cross of the leg into its cross across the midline of the body. I'm going to turn to face this direction. So if you're using height, bring your height back for this one. And if you have tight shoulders like I do, have a strap nearby. Tight shoulders or short arms, both of them make this next part a little challenging. Okay, so we're sitting up, both legs straight to start. Tuck your sitting bones back and make sure they're even. Sit up tall through your spine. And and then cross your right knee over the left knee and tuck the right shin back behind you. Then you're gonna take your right arm, you've got a couple options actually. So if I wasn't teaching this class and didn't know that there's some people out there with much looser shoulders than me, I would just do this version. So you're just gonna clasp your hands behind your back and curl your shoulders back, and that is plenty for some of us. If you want a little more, though, you can take the right arm overhead and your left arm behind you. And your hands, you know, for some of you, your fingers can interlace on their own. So you can have right hand overhead, left hand behind, right knee crossed over, and then we're gonna hinge, forward fold. So this is Ardha Gomukhasana. Gomukhasana means cow face pose. I'll show you that pose in a little bit. And the arms, your arms are in Gomukhasana form. Keep the shoulders curling back as you bend from your hips and forward fold. And then release your arms. And for this one, you can hold onto your knee to pull your chest forward, or you can reach out there for your foot. And then as much as it feels good, let your head rest down. My body proportions allow that my forehead can rest on my knee. You can experiment with where your head wants to go in this pose. Couple of breaths here. Good, come on up, right? Now we're gonna go to Agni Stambhasana, which is a fire log pose. So you're gonna take your left knee to the left. Your right ankle stays crossed over the left knee. Lift up tall through your chest, and then as much as it feels good for you, let your legs stack on top of each other like you might be stacking firewood. If this bothers ankles, knees, you're just gonna stay leaning back and your knees can stay high. I don't have one handy, but you could put your block or a couch cushion underneath that knee and just hang out here. If you are on the more flexible side, you can reach your arms up overhead. And then only as much as it really feels like an opportunity to release tension, you fold forward. But you don't want to do it if it feels like it's building more tension. So we're going to hang out here for a couple of breaths. And I just want to point out a couple of alignment things. Make sure that this ankle is not doing that sickle thing, because when this foot sickles, it can strain your outer knee. So you want to keep the foot all the way over the knee so this is flat the whole way through. Just a couple more breaths. This is one of our longer hold poses today. As we have this idea of the water element, if we've been feeling overly watery, you might bring a little bit of that light fire energy, right? That's what this pose is about. It's bringing that fire energy, the energy to push through, the energy of transformation. That we want to honor where we are, but also allow ourselves to keep moving forward if that feels like the next best place to go. Okay, good. Everyone come on up. Stretch your legs out. And just shake them out. Try to let there be an element of kind of jellyfish quality. And then we're going to take Ardha, half, Gomukhasana on the other side. So it's the right leg that's straight. The left knee is crossing over. You can clasp your hands behind your back and curl your shoulders back, or if you prefer, the left arm will go overhead and the right arm will go under. Lift up through your chest, hinge from your hips, forward fold from your waist, but keep your shoulders back. So you're strengthening your back muscles here, and you're also stretching the chest muscles. We're gonna hold this version, just a couple more breaths. And then release your arms, and you can reach out for your knee or your foot and fold in deeper. Stay connected to your breath. Good, come on up. Agni Stambhasana, so you take the right knee out to the right. And you can be in this form, like this might be your form. Your hands are behind you, your knees are kind of high, but you feel that it's releasing tension. In my body particularly, it's this lower right hip that I feel in this form. If it works in your body, you can stack the legs a little bit more. Now for me, it's more even in both sides. Remind yourself to lift up through your ribs. You have the element of light and warmth, and then hinge and forward fold. Connect to your breath. Allow yourself to stay in that space that feels sensitive, that you're feeling what's actually going on, so that you can be responsive, so that you can be nurturing. Taking this time for tender, loving care. And in a pose like this, sometimes it means reaching a little forward, and a lot of times it means backing off. Such an incredible quality to know when is the right time to back off a bit. Okay, come on up, and we're gonna do Gomukhasana here, and then we're gonna come back and do Gomukhasana on the other side. So now Gomukhasana, your knees cross tight, and you have the option to bring your feet back towards you, or you can do the longhorn cow, right? Your feet are straight across, so just whichever feels best for you. You could repeat your hands behind your back clasped, or left arm overhead, right arm behind your back for this one. I'm just gonna take my hands to the ground and take a sweet forward fold. You let the legs press onto each other. Make sure this doesn't hurt. Make sure there's no pinching. You don't want any zinging. You don't want any tingling or numbness. It just feel like a sweet stretch. And if it doesn't feel like that, you need to back out and connect to the flow of your breath. You know, a lot of times for me, I very rarely think about strength and stretch in my yoga practices. For me, it's about balance and energetic flow. Where can you breathe? Where is there a feeling of being empowered and gentle? How can we do hard things gracefully? Come up, switch legs. So now the left's under the right. You try to get the knees right on top of each other, and you can pick where your legs go. Lift up tall through your spine, and then forward fold. Connect to your breath. Let yourself practice the advanced yoga, which might mean that you're backing out a little bit. Where can you be in the space of nurturing, of taking good care? Good, come on up. Take your legs wide apart. And they don't have to go super wide, just where they kind of go naturally when you widen them, that you don't need to use your hands and yank them wider. Put your hands behind you. Press down into your pinchy fingertips. Lift up through your heart. Let that inner sweetness shine bright. Curl your shoulders back. Have a sense of any of this protective quality that you might have been feeling like you've needed. Allow yourself this opportunity just to let it all soften, and know you can put those shields back up later if you need them. Stretch your arms up overhead. If you prefer, you can go back to reclining, and if you like, you can take your hands out in front of you. I like for the first stage, I think about my hands like kickstands, and I keep the spine straight, and I just let my upper body soften into the support of the hands. And again, this is one of those poses I'm quite flexible, so I'm gonna fold deeper, but for a lot of you, this is plenty. You don't have to push it. We don't have to go to the absolute end range of what our body allows, that we really wanna be in a place where we feel like we're releasing the excess tension. Stay connected to your breath. And then come on up, sitting tall. Okay, so I'm gonna take a few moments to work into half lotus and full lotus Padmasana, and acknowledge that this is not an appropriate pose for everyone. Both of these poses are not appropriate for every body. It requires a
a really good amount of hip rotation and health in your knees. So if you know that that's not an appropriate posture for you, you can hang out and watch and get the tips that you might think about working towards that pose someday, or you can just rest into resting butterfly. So laying on your back, feet together, knees out. Okay, so I'm gonna come off of the blankets for this one. You could keep the blanket there if you prefer. And we're gonna come into a version of this pose that looks like this. You're gonna take, let me see, I'm gonna go kind of sideways. Take your left leg and fold it in. And you wanna fold it in quite close, and then your right leg is gonna come so that the two shins are pretty parallel. So the left leg is close to you, and the right leg is far from you, but they're fairly parallel. Then you're gonna, again, this is about the internal rotation of the ball and socket, and the forward pelvic tilt will help you here. So you're gonna reach back with your hands for not just the hip bone, like not just the meat of your hip here, but you really wanna get the bone, the sitting bone, to roll back. Now you're gonna bring your right shin in towards you and floint your foot. So that's where the ankle is pointed but the toes are flexed. And then you wanna rotate your right leg at the hip socket. So this ankle should stay straight, and to as much of your ability, this outside edge of your foot goes into your left groin. This is half lotus. Take a good deep breath there, and then we're gonna do the similar thing to the other side. So now we're gonna slide the left shin forward so that they're parallel. And ideally, we're gonna get this right knee to the ground before we bring the left leg up on top of it. Otherwise, it can strain your outer knee. So again, we're gonna go back for those sitting bones and pull them back and wide, and I'm leaning a little forward. And then reach down for your left ankle heel. Think about rotating the right leg at the hip socket and lift the left shin up and over on the top. Take a good deep breath there. And then just for kicks, there is an element of this practice where we're acknowledging kind of the heavy capacity of emotions at times, and also encouraging this sense of firing things up to move towards the light. You can think about that. That's what the lotus does. The lotus roots into the muckiest part of the waters, roots there, feels and believes in the power of the sun, of the light, and moves up and blossoms, this beautiful blossoming and gift to the world around. So if you want to think about rising above here a little bit more, you can come onto if you have longer arms, you might be able to put your hand totally flat. Like I said, mine are quite short, so I'm going to come up onto call this ridge top. So my hand is lifted, but my fingers support me. You tip your knees towards the floor, you lift your hips up, and then maybe lift your knees up, and you have that moment of floating. And then lay it back down, and nice and gently unwind your legs and shake them out. All right, so if we did it on the first side, we should give it a go on the second side, but know that they would always need to match, and as you start working into this, it might not be appropriate for the second side. All right, so the left leg folds in close to you and underneath. Your right leg folds in close to you and underneath the left, and your shins are pretty parallel to start. Then we're gonna move the sitting bones back and wide and get the pelvis to tilt forward. And then you're gonna lift the left leg up, keep that foot flointed, and you're working this outside edge of your foot into your groin and keeping this inner ankle flat. Half lotus. For full lotus, the right shin goes forward, and now again, they're parallel, but I wanna get that left knee a little closer to the floor before I put the right leg up and put the pressure down on it, because I wanna keep this really safe. To take pressure out of the outer knee, you push down through your left foot. Then lift the right shin up and maybe slide it up on top, again, working deep into the upper groin. Find your breath. I spent a lot of time talking about how to get into floating lotus on the first side, so we're gonna take a minute, let the hips adjust to this posture if you're still here with us. And now I think it's about time. We'll take the hands, push down through your fingers or your full hand. You can let the knees tip forward first, get your butt up, and then use your belly
and float your knees. Stay connected to your breath. Good, and then release. Unwind. Extend your legs and shake them out. Okay. I missed one pose in this sequence, and I'm just trying to decide if I want to do it or not. I think we should do it. So this is Ardha Matsyendrasana, and this is another one of my favorite poses, and it ties into our Cancer, ocean, watery theme. So Matsyendrasana is Lord of the Fish poses, and it is said that Shiva was teaching Shakti. She has many names. Parvati is one of them. Shiva is the father of yoga, and he was teaching Shakti about yoga, and Matsyendra was the Lord of the Fish. He was nearby on the bank of the river and overheard. So he is king of the sea who knows the secrets of yoga. This is a good pose for us to start to wind down. Okay, so coming back up to sitting if you chose to lay down, and if you don't feel like it, if you're tired, you could just do a recline twist. That would be great too. So you're now going to tuck your right leg under the left, and on this one, the left foot goes over the right knee. If you have knee issues, it could feel better just to put your left foot straight out in front of you. Your left hand is behind you. Stretch your right arm up. Think about the themes that we worked on today. So like the lotus, we're grounding down, we're pushing. There is a sense of connection to the heavy aspect of life, but that there is also this light element. So you want to lift up and then twist. It can be your right hand to your left knee, or it can be your elbow. Lift up through your spine, twist through your waist. There is a binding version of this pose, and if you know that and you want to take it, feel free. Look over your left shoulder. Find your breath. Good. And then we're going to do the disco twist out of this, so kind of fun. You might giggle, it might work, you might get lost. Whatever happens, it's okay. You're going to put your hands to the right. Your feet stay where they are. You come up onto the balls of your feet. The feet don't move, but you twist through your hips. And you come back down. Now you're on the other side. Tucking your left leg under. Your right foot crosses on the outside of the left knee. Bring your left hand behind you. Ground and rise. Find your breath. Twist through your waist, left hand to right knee. Alternatively, you can cross the left elbow outside the right knee. If you like that bind version, you can do the bind version. Twist through your waist, hug your right shoulder blade back, turn your head. So squeezing out. If we've been a sponge for emotions recently, allow yourself to let them go, to lighten the energetic emotional load. Clear out, it's important. And then release. Good, come lay down onto your back. Take a couple rounds of windshield wipers, letting the feet be placed wider than your hips, knees rock side to side. Let both knees drop to your right. And only if it would feel good, take your right foot and put it on top of your outer left knee. And then use your right foot to press your left knee away from your navel. Not so much down to the floor. It might go to the floor, but make sure that you're thinking about lengthening through the front of your groin and your outer hip. Make sure your inner knee feels perfect. No pain, no pressure. Stretch your left arm over your head, right hand to your right hip. Push your right inner thigh down to the floor. Your spine can arch here. You're opening up through that full left column of your body. Nurturing breath. Unwind. Rock your legs a couple times, right to left. Churning this kind of watery element, getting the energy moving so we're not stuck in any single emotion. We allow ourselves to move through the full spectrum. Knees drop to your left. The right foot can come up on top of the outer right knee, and then you press away from you. The knee might go down a little bit, but the pressure is not to the floor. The pressure is lengthening through the front of the groin and belly. Right arm overhead. Left hand to the upper inner left thigh, and press the left inner thigh down towards the floor. Let your spine arch. Breathe in the right side of your body, your right lung, right rib cage. Good. Release. couple more rounds of windshield wipers just to start to finish off this practice. Hug your knees into your chest, lift your head and shoulders up away from the floor, squeeze in tight, tight little ball. Feel the hard shell of your back, let your belly soften a little bit. And then we're gonna take resting butterfly. So bring the soles of your feet together. Let your knees drop out to the sides. And if this isn't comfortable, you can prop your knees up with cushions or take your feet wide, let your knees knock together. Bring your one hand to your belly and one hand to your heart. And just take a moment to soften and settle there. And then switch hands, the other hand on the heart, the other hand on the belly. And then place your hands where it feels best on your body. So maybe it's both hands on your belly, both hands on your heart. Maybe you like them where they are. Maybe neither is really comfortable. You want to put your hands behind your head or in any other position that might feel good for you. We're going to hold this posture for just a couple more breaths. This pose can make us feel vulnerable. So if you think of your skeletal structure, there's a lot of protection in the back, right? Like all the ribs go pretty low in the back. There's a small section that's open between your ribs and the back of the pelvic bones with the wide sacrum. But the belly, the solar plexus area is quite vulnerable. So I want to acknowledge that we come into a pose like this, there can be that element of vulnerability as well as with the legs apart, that the groin area is also open. And so you want to ask yourself, am I in a safe place? Is this actually an okay place to do this pose? And if it doesn't feel like it is, that you could take a different position. You could just come and lay on your right or left side with your knees tucked into your chest, a side-lying fetal position where you're curled in and you physically would feel safer. But let's come back to the concept from the very beginning of this practice today, where yoga is the invitation to broaden our capacity in the world. Yoga is the invitation to view the big field of possibility, the full spectrum of life, the highs, the lows, the light, the dark, the good, the bad, the sweet, the bitter. That each one of us is going to have a comfort zone, a place where we feel safe. And that's important. Security is one of our very first needs. But that we can also get into places where we become so controlling that we actually limit ourselves, so protective of that comfort zone that we become rigid and hard, and we lose our capacity to explore possibility. And so if that's the case for you, you might envision just softening a little bit more, allowing yourself to practice feeling vulnerable. And on the other hand, if we tend to be sensitive and caring, it's possible that we don't have healthy boundaries. It's possible that we don't know when to stop giving, when to stop caring, and we start to break down. And it would be beneficial for us to perhaps create a little stronger structures in our places where we have relationship with people, with work, with expectation, with feelings. Yoga invites us to contemplate, to consider, what is balance like in our lives? And can we play the edges? Can we
move in one direction and the other direction. So we navigate that field of hard and soft, of light and dark, of safe and free. In this moment, come back to that place of feeling into the fullness of yourself. So I say that because some of us will identify ourselves with our body. Some will identify with our feelings. Some with our thoughts. Some with the way that we show up in the world. Just have a moment to think about the fullness of your being, your body, your mind, your heart, your spirit. And just take this moment to let yourself rest as deeply as you can. And so if you've been carrying too much, just imagine letting that extra sensation, the extra thought, the extra care, the extra worry, let it go. Allow yourself to clear out. Feel your physical body on the earth. And if you happen to peek over and see me sitting, it's just so I can speak more clearly, and I invite you to remain laying down as long as that feels okay for you. If you haven't stretched your body out straight yet, you can do that too. Just make yourself comfortable for these last few moments of relaxation. Feel the hard aspects of your body. So your skeleton, your skull. Feel the bones that are enrobed in the softness of your flesh. Feel the ground beneath you, the earth. And just see if you can soften your muscles a little bit more so that your bones can sink a little deeper and a little fuller. So you have a sense of your earth quality that shows up in bone and flesh. Your muscles relaxing now, softening. Have a sense of your water quality, that we are 85% water and 100% energy. Have a sense of your watery quality. And as we're working in this realm of Cancer and the element of water and of emotions, consider your emotions like water. Feel and remember and consider the adaptability of water. So that water can freeze, water can melt and flow. We can put it in a pressure washer and it can be one of the most powerful forces, be abrasive. And then as it gets heated, it can be quite ethereal. So allow yourself to feel your adaptability as a water being. And then have a sense of your true ethereal quality, your light body, your energy body, that maybe it feels more comfortable for you to think of yourself as this energy body, as your cells, is a physical thing, that you are energy, of physics. But then maybe you also consider your energy body as your spirit, as your inner light. And as you breathe in, let your breath nurture that inner light, your inner energy body, particularly if you've been feeling depleted or overworked, that you take this time to nurture the fullness of your being, your body, your mind, your heart, your soul, your spirit, with your kind intention, with your nurturing breath. And I have no idea how long this class has gone today. It's taken us a long time to get here if you've been with us for the full class. But the more times that we practice feeling this way, at peace, at ease, and in particular in balance, the more we practice it, the easier, the quicker it is to get there when we need it. So if we feel overwhelmed in the world with our feelings, our experiences, or because of those around us, we have this tool to center, to reset, to be adaptable, to nurture ourselves. And as we learn to better nurture ourselves, it gets easier and easier to do it for others too, with less and less effort. Feel your inner light. We're just going to take about 1 complete quiet minute here together, and then I'll start to bring you out of this place. So as you rest into Shavasana, let it be an even deeper relaxation, surrendering, softening, in the flow. As you pause a moment longer in stillness, allow yourself to acknowledge your capacity for awareness, for stability in sensitivity. So we can be sensitive and stable at the same time, aware and then responsive. Feeling back into your physical body, reversing kind of that path that we took, feeling your energy body, your ethereal quality, your light body, your energy body, your cells, your water body, physically that you're water, and then also the emotional body that is such an important aspect in our relationships. Feeling a sense of adaptability there, a sense of autonomy, of choice to a certain degree. Feel your physical body, flesh and bone. Feel a sense of strength and softness that you have and your capacity to balance those energies. Take a couple more good full deep breaths. Stretch your body. Reach out through your arms and your legs. Give your knees a good hug into your chest. Roll over to one side or the other. Gently press yourself up to sitting. Bring your hands together in front of your heart. Let your eyes close for a moment more. Again, feel into your inner body, your capacity to be sensitive and strong. clear and vibrant, open and free. We'll finish with one Om together, breathing out through your nose and back in. Full deep breaths. Bowing head to heart, honoring the beauty of the heart, love energy that moves us in the world, that moves us towards the things that we love, the people that we love, the experiences, the opportunities. That love is not just about what we receive, but what guides us from within. Connecting to the energy of love within your heart, letting it be vibrant and bright, and allow yourself to be courageous, to shine your light, to send your love, to be nurturing to yourself, to your pets, your plants, in your work, in your world, your people. If you haven't yet, let your eyes open up, and we'll end practice here today. It's great to be with you today in this way. A reminder that if you are catching this class free on YouTube and you'd like to make a donation in exchange, you can visit www.shineyoga.com and visit the online or virtual studio, I think it says, and you can send a donation through PayPal that way. Stay well, take care, much love. Namaste.